Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the Alex Thomas Show, and welcome to our new digs. And please welcome my guest. I'm so excited to have Solomon Rajput.
Hey there, guys. How's it going?
Hey, check out the new digs that we have here at the Alex Thomas Show. And it really matches a new exciting time here in the area. And I think my guest represents that, and why I'm so excited to have him here. Solomon, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Solomon Rajput. I'm 27 years old. I'm a medical student at the University of Michigan. I'm actually taking a leave of absence to run for Congress of the United States for this district, which is the 12th Congressional District for the state of Michigan. So yeah, I'm really excited to be on here. Thanks so much for having me, and I can't wait to talk about all kinds of things today.
Well, you heard him right. He's running for the 12th Congressional District, and we have a really informed audience here at the Alex Thomas Show. Yes, that is Debbie Dingell's office. And, you know, I know a lot of you might, Debbie Dingell, wow, why is he running against her? Does he know what the odds are or how long? But, you know, that's why I'm excited to have him here, because he represents the new type of politics, a more progressive politics, politics about what's possible and not saying what isn't. So I really think it's the time to have some new blood here in our local politics, national, all around.
Absolutely.
So what do you say to those people that say, Debbie Dingell, you know? I'm sure you've heard that quite a bit.
Oh my God, yeah. You know what? It's funny. I have heard it a decent bit, but it's actually really interesting because when we're out there knocking on doors, talking to voters, it's actually more surprising how often it does not come up, which is really interesting. And I think it speaks a lot to the disconnect that we feel as voters from our political establishment and like the political royalty that has been ruling this country for decades and decades and decades. So what we say to people who ask us about like Debbie in particular, it's like, you know, she's a perfectly nice person. We're not running a smear campaign or anything like that. It's just that, you know, I believe in important progressive values and causes, and this district is a very progressive district, and our current representation does not advocate for some very important policies that progressives care a lot about, which I'm sure we can talk about. So, you know, it's simply just a matter of, you know, policy and the issues that we're trying to run on.
And I'm going to, top three issues for you.
Yeah.
What are the, just real quick?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have four top issues. So our top four are getting big money out of our political system, making college free and eliminating student debt, fighting climate change through a Green New Deal, and making sure everyone has healthcare in this country through Medicare for all.
Okay, and I'm going to give you a lot of time to talk about those.
Yeah, 100%.
But you're a hometown guy.
I am
Pioneer,
indeed.
right?
I am. Yep. Oh yeah. I know. We moved here when I was 7 years old. I went to Bryant, then Pattingill, then Tappan, then Pioneer, and now I'm at the University of Michigan's med school.
Okay. What kind of activities while you were at Pioneer would you do?
I did lots of stuff.
And what class are you? What class? I'm Belleville 87.
There we go. Pioneer 1-0, so 2010. Yeah, I did all kinds of stuff. I was really involved in student council, which is, I guess, kind of typical for someone who might ultimately run for office. But I was class president for 3 years, and we started a club that had a pretty ambitious name. It was called the Global Improvement Society. I've been talking about this in a long time. But yeah, at the time we were, you know, we're raising money for global causes and doing some local volunteering and everything. But yeah, I mean, I've always had kind of eyes on the big structural problems in our society.
Okay. Well, class president.
I know, I peaked early. I peaked real early.
Tough competition in Pioneer, though,
it
too.
was. Oh, my God, let me tell you.
Who's your big opponent? Who's your,
oh, man, it was crazy. Every year, it was like, there were 750 people in our class, and it was actually kind of interesting because you didn't know. I mean, this is so funny. I'm talking about Pioneer collections, but like, you didn't know everybody.
I don't talk about Ann Arbor a lot on this.
Yeah, that's the funny. So you there's just too many people to know. So you actually have to run a campaign. Like, it's not like a popularity contest. I mean, like, it's in high school, everything is kind of a popularity contest, but there were like hundreds of people that you've like actually never interacted with. So you had to go out there and campaign. And every year there were 7 teams running. 7 teams running for like president, vice president. And we had to out hustle them, and we put posters all over the place and gave, you know, like like gave people brownies and stuff, and like
Wow, great.
we got endorsements from teachers. It was like a whole thing. It was a whole thing. Let me tell you.
You're a veteran.
Oh yeah. If you can make it at Pioneer, you can make it anywhere.
After Pioneer, where'd you go to undergrad?
I went to Dartmouth College.
Dartmouth.
Yeah, Dartmouth College. Yeah, wear my Dartmouth ring every day. It's like my alma mater is very important to me.
What kind of activities at Dartmouth?
All kinds of things. So I got really into thinking about some of the root issues in our country, especially thinking about like our, why so many Americans are so sick, and a lot of it is from our broken healthcare system, but a lot of it also is preventable through our lifestyle. So I got really interested in trying to help figure out ways that we could help people eat healthier and innovations around that.
Were you pre-med or biology undergrad? Or?
Yeah. So I was a biology major in undergrad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any political activity there?
Not as much at Dartmouth, no. But then after I graduated, I ended up, getting very scared about a possible Donald Trump presidency. So after Bernie Sanders lost the primary, which was a very, very sad thing, I was like, well, it's an all hands on deck kind of moment to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't become the next president of the United States. So I decided to be an organizer for Hillary's campaign in the general election, especially as a Muslim person. It's been thankfully a lot of stuff Donald Trump said he was going to do towards Muslim people didn't end up happening. We still have the Muslim ban though, which is awful. But like we were talking about, surveilling mosques and creating a database of Muslim people and all this kind of stuff, and so it was like a very scary time. So I ended up working as an organizer, and I was an organizer for Washington County actually, which was really exciting.
You mentioned your time at Dartmouth, and you became really aware or just got super focused on health.
Absolutely.
And recognizing equities. Am I right that we're like in the midst of the first generation that's going to be a little less healthier than previous?
Oh my God, it's crazy. Yeah, life expectancy's been going down in this country, like and the trend is going like over the course of years. And we have, and there's so many things that contribute to that. There's the opioid epidemic, there's the obesity epidemic, there's the mental health crisis in this country, is the fact that there's so many suicides. There's just so many things that go into that, and it's a very scary time because, my generation might like live less years than my parents' generation. And why is that, right? And how can that be acceptable?
Well, that makes me think. I've been fortunate to serve on a community leadership team of community residents that represent different areas in the county.
Absolutely.
That have been deemed to have low health opportunities, and there's just some incredible racial disparities in between for life expectancy. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I encourage I'll put it up as part of this cast. But as far as life expectancy in different areas,
my God,
Ann Arbor.
When I heard about how Ypsilanti has almost a decade less in life expectancy than Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
I mean, like, can you talk about segregation? This is clearly not separate but equal, right? I mean, you drive 15 minutes from Ann Arbor to Ypsilanti, and you end up losing a decade of your life if you move. You know what I mean?
And when you look at the history of redlining in this area, and what set up the structural layout that's created our housing reality today, you see the effects on health. I mean that underline that. Those
here's the thing especially when we think about health, right? Like a lot of health is determined by, in America, how much money you make. And that's because healthcare is expensive, and in our country, we have not managed to figure out a way to make sure that everyone who's sick can go see a doctor. That's what it means to say healthcare is a human right. It's a very simple statement that if you're sick, then you should be able to go see a doctor and get your medicines, get any treatments you need, regardless of who you are, what race you are, how much money you make, And so that is why we need a Medicare for All system, and why we need to join the rest of the developed world who have figured this out and have been able to guarantee it for all of their citizens. Because at this point, we are uniquely backwards. Like, we're the only developed country that says if you're sick and you can't pay for it, well, tough luck, figure it out, but otherwise you're just gonna die, and that happens to people all the time.
I don't know the incumbent's voting record on health. Has she been progressive enough for you, or do you know?
So yeah, here's the thing. What people mean a lot of different things when they talk about Medicare for all, right? Like initially everyone was talking about a single payer system, but now, it's so funny. I feel like Republicans get a lot of their best talking points from the centrists who are cautious and who are like not wanting to displease their corporate donors in order to shake up the status quo, right? So right now, it's unclear whether Congresswoman Dingell supports a single-payer Medicare for all system or a public option. So the difference being, right, one system, everyone is automatically covered through a single-payer system where we all pay money into a fund that would make sure that everyone is able to get healthcare. Like how we all pay money into a fund that pays for our public education or Social Security or Medicare for the seniors. And then there's a public option, right? And so like just for the viewers at home, a public option is like saying, okay, you can go buy into Medicare. You can go buy the insurance that's provided by the government. But that doesn't mean everyone automatically has health insurance. It means that there's just another insurance option for you on the marketplace, and you have to be able to pay into that. And so people are kind of, the great thing about Medicare for all, like just one last point on this, the great thing about Medicare for all is that, you're able to go and see any doctor you want and without having to pay any money, every month to have your insurance, right? The thing is, though, people are saying, oh, I don't want to lose my insurance. I don't want, or the centrists are going out and saying, we don't want people to lose their insurance. And it's like, no, you're not losing your insurance. You're gaining the ability to see any doctor without having to pay amount to go see the doctor, pay every month with a premium or anything like that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, though, with people that did lose, because you always hear the Republicans or the anti-Obamas, if you lose no one will lose their insurance, and say how he went back on that promise. The people that did lose their insurance were people that had just horrible, plans that actually, I mean, you could give some of the detail, but plans that actually didn't cover anything. That had incredibly high deductibles and such like that. So they're basically like junk policies that, it was a small percentage of the total people that were already insured.
Well, actually, it's crazy how many people's health insurance is just like vastly inadequate. I think it's either half or 3/4 of people who declare medical or declare bankruptcy because of medical bills actually had health insurance. So it's just like it's profoundly ineffective. Our health insurance in this country, and we can see it in so many examples, right? Like my sister has really good health insurance. She's provided by like a good company, but she ended up having to go, she burned her hand slightly, ended up having to go to the urgent care. Turns out she ended up having to pay like $2,000-3,000 out of pocket. And we're like, don't you have health insurance? Isn't it supposed to be good health insurance? And she's like, I thought so. Yeah. But it's like, that's a lot of money for a young person. Yeah. It's a lot of money for anybody.
Yes, and our so-called free market system, and just I was in China for 8 years, and I had some dental work done. Had a bridge put in that it would have been like $4,000 a year or something like that. I spent the equivalent of like $300 or $400. It's great.
Yeah, that's good.
Just
the free market has had its turn. How many more years are we going to say, let the free market do its thing? It's clearly we have seen what it produces, which is that tens of millions of people don't have health insurance, and the health insurance that a lot of people have is woefully inadequate. So how long are we going to keep waiting to say, let's keep seeing what the free market can do for us?
And we haven't had we've had corporate controlled.
Absolutely.
It's not been a fair free system.
No, it's like a very
subsidized,
secured,
exorbitant prices.
Absolutely.
Such like that. Kind of, you listed your 4 issues, and I believe you start out with climate, possibly, and such. So let's. When did that awareness come? How long has that been a big issue?
So climate change has been a really big issue for me for a long time. So I was actually vegan for 5 years, vegetarian for 7 years. So and principally because of health and climate issues, because and how that relates is because our meat consumption and red meat. This is unpopular to talk about, but like red meat consumption is like really linked to climate change because essentially we have to cut down a ton of rainforest in order to be able to make room for the cows. Like that is the big reason. In addition to other things, waste. There's a lot of waste. I mean, think of how many crops you need, how much water you need in order to go be able to make one cow, and how little food that is, and then like the manure runoff. I mean, it's just a whole lot of things.
That's what I was thinking of, the manure runoff.
Oh my God!
Incredibly damaging, right?
It's so damaging. It's like created this these huge pools of, or these huge areas of the ocean where just like nothing grows or like nothing can live. It's just disgusting. But yeah, so that kind of, when I was thinking about all the health and everything, that kind of. I learned a lot more about climate change and how our diet relates to climate change, and then yeah, it's just been something that I've cared a lot about. And it's actually the reason I got into this race was because of my concern from climate change. It's my single biggest issue.
And within, what do you think within the 12th district, the Huron River, or what's the most pressing climate issue specifically in the 12th district? Would you say?
Yeah, 1,000%. So climate change, it's like. It's something that affects everybody, absolutely, and it's something that is just going to get worse and worse and worse. I mean, like, it's December, and I came to to this show, like, dressed like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be 55 on Sunday. We are going to be seeing worse and worse effects of climate change, and, we're not going to be affected by, like, the hurricanes or the wildfires, but how everyone is going to be affected by climate change is that crops are going to stop growing in certain areas, and so now there's going to be like less access to food, and like food prices will go up, and also there's going to be like more migration because places are going to be flooded and like underwater, and so then we're going to have like migration to other areas, and our crops in this area too are going to be affected because we depend on predictable weather patterns, and if those weather patterns don't exist or they're getting disrupted, then crops have like shorter amount of time to grow, or it gets too hot too quickly and then they die, so like all kinds of different things.
For people that would like to get involved with some of the organizations locally or some groups that are dealing with climate issues, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, Clean Water Action is awesome. So they're focused a lot on the water in this area, which is in the Great Lakes, and Line 5, which is a pipeline that is built by this company called Enbridge that goes through the Straits of Mackinac and has a really high chance of leaking, which we want to shut down because it would disrupt all the Great Lakes.
What is the status of that right now, of Line 5?
They're trying to do that tunnel. They're trying to make that tunnel.
But I thought that it was on. I mean, obviously I don't know, but I thought it was on hold, or like there were some successful efforts to. Do you know what the current status is?
I think we're still trying to advocate. I mean, we just went to a phone bank pretty recently about it.
Okay.
Around saying that this tunnel idea is not going to work. But then Sunrise is also a huge, amazing group when it comes to climate change. So like Sunrise Ann Arbor has been doing a phenomenal job in terms of putting pressure on Congresswoman Dingell, who doesn't support the Green New Deal. So when we think about climate change, there's a really great opportunity to use climate change as an avenue for economic revitalization for this country, right? So the Green New Deal, right? The New Deal, FDR's program to create lots of jobs. The Green New Deal is saying, why don't we use climate change as an opportunity to create millions of good-paying green energy jobs to do all of the work we need to do in order to transition our country off of fossil fuels in the short, aggressive amount of time that we have left before scientists say that we've run out of time. So, we need to go and build tons of solar panels, build tons of wind turbines, create an electric vehicle infrastructure for this entire country, make mass transit systems that we should have had this entire time, make all buildings energy efficient, like retrofit them. So like this is a ton of labor that needs to be done. So why don't we say we'll create lots of good paying green energy jobs by also tackling climate change through a Green New Deal. And it's a really exciting idea. It's like my single biggest thing that I care about. The reason I got in this race was because Congresswoman Dingell does not support the Green New Deal and has not, despite lots of activist pressure. So if you want to get involved, that Sunrise Ann Arbor is doing a phenomenal job.
I mean, we talked about your politics, activism, and such. What are some of the other things that you do? What are some hobbies or
Yeah,
interests? And
hobbies.
things?
I haven't heard of that. What does that mean? Well, the campaign's been in my life for the past couple months now. It's been a lot of fun. Met a lot of people. It's been really cool too because we've just like built such a huge organization, which I'm really excited about. And so I hang out a lot, just a lot of those people inadvertently. But aside from that, just typical like mid to late 20 stuff. Work out, hang out with my friends, like all that kind of good stuff.
Okay. Any, any what role models growing up? What you
Yeah,
doing?
lots of role models. So I think I mean right now my biggest role model is Bernie Sanders. Absolutely, So he essentially has totally changed the game for us. I think and helped us believe like what is possible, and has brought the whole or like a large portion of the Democratic Party to the left. Because initially when he was, first coming out running for president against Hillary Clinton, it took a lot of courage for him to do what he did, to advocate unapologetically for the ideas that he had that many Americans hadn't been introduced to yet at the time, and they felt like would be impossible, But a lot of these people have come around, and the progressive movement that he has helped create has been phenomenal, And it's without him, I certainly wouldn't be running, And like without someone like AOC, I certainly would not be running. People who've been able to show us the way that this could happen.
Yeah, I certainly didn't misjudge. I was a hardcore Hillary from the beginning.
Yeah.
And such, and I just thought no one would vote for him, and his politics were too far to the left.
Yeah.
But he shifted the needle, and
It's amazing.
won Michigan.
Amazing. Yeah. He won Michigan. He won this district. And that's why we know that, the progressive message is a winning message, right? It's like, because also if you're a Democrat and you're not out there advocating for these things, for, making college free, a Green New Deal to solve climate change, making sure everyone's healthcare in this country, and, getting big money out of our political system, then people are confused as to what you stand for. Like these are the core things that progressives want. And if you don't want these things, then what do you want as a Democrat?
And it's Washtenaw County.
It's Washtenaw County. We have this place called Ann Arbor, a place called Ypsi, a place called, so it's like very, very progressive. It's a very progressive place.
And I was telling you before the show about Dr. Abdul El-Sayed.
Absolutely.
When he ran for governor, 70% he won by, and the city of Ypsilanti won the township also.
Absolutely, which is awesome.
Yeah, there's a progressive base out here.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, the progressives are the majority here.
I get the feeling you have a pretty good organization right now and campaign together.
Yeah.
Can you can you tell us some of the things
Yeah,
coming up,
for sure.
or how people can get involved?
For sure. So if anyone is interested, you can go to SolomonRajput.com. You can leave us your email. We'll be emailing out about volunteering opportunities. But what we're really excited about is our fellowship program. So we have like a fellowship internship program. And our whole strategy to win, because people are like, oh, how are you going to be Debbie Dingell, this, that, and the other. And it's like, we're going to do something that Congresswoman Dingell cannot do, which is that we're going to create a huge army of young people who are going to go out there and talk to all the voters in this district. This campaign is going to be grassroots as heck. We're going to actually do the work that's required in order to talk to voters. And talking to voters, knocking on their door, talking to them on the phone, that kind of thing is so effective in terms of getting people to care about a campaign and want to come out and vote. So we're not trying to play this big money game. We're not trying to out establishment the establishment. The establishment is the establishment, and we don't want to be them. We've made the decision. We're not going to try to like raise tons of money to just buy tons of ads. We're going to go out there and talk to voters, and our fellowship and internship program is the best way to for us to kind of build this army of young people. So we've got so many people, like an absurd amount of people, dozens and dozens and dozens of people who have signed up and committed to our fellowship and internship program, and who will be going out there talking to the voters.
No.
And I'm also talking to the voters. I'm part of the army too. I'm going to be out there knocking doors every weekend, many weeknights, that kind of thing.
And the primary is August 4th.
August 4th.
They actually, you can start sending in your ballots June 20th.
Yep.
It's 45 days prior
yeah.
to. When do you expect your campaign to like really start getting hot and heating up, and the fellowships, are the fellows out?
They've been out.
Okay.
They've been out. Yeah. We are gonna be out every weekend, every single weekend. We've been out. We've been out for a while, and we will be out all the time. Yeah. So you can apply right now, and we're gonna be out there in the winter. And I don't know, people like the establishment has certain expectations for how things are done, and they're like, yeah, nobody really starts knocking until like April or May, and I'm like, why? That doesn't make any sense. That's like so much time that you could be knocking and talking to voters. And people have just been very, very receptive to the idea of knocking on doors in the winter, and so we're going to be knocking all the time.
See?
All the time. This campaign is happening now. It's heating up now.
You mentioned climate and health, and there were two other, because you had a total of 4.
I did have a total of 4, yeah.
Go ahead.
That's the challenge with having 4.
Yeah.
3 is so much easier to remember, but 4 is so important.
Yeah.
Getting big money out of our political system and making college free and eliminating student debt. That's like one category, and so those are the 2 last things.
The getting big money out.
Absolutely.
I believe it's 1,500 registered lobbyists in Michigan, or lobbying firms somewhere around that. And tell us about your Michigan Resistance.
Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about that.
I was giving you an opening before.
I know.
When did you? Tell Michigan Resistance.
Yeah. So Michigan Resistance. So after Hillary's campaign, thankfully we had a really big campaign here in Washtenaw. And so we had a lot of voters, or a lot of volunteers who still wanted to keep doing something. So we said, okay, you know what? Let's figure out how we can keep fighting, because this whole Trump winning thing is a disaster. It's like a complete catastrophe. So what we did is we figured out that apparently at the state level, just a couple dozen calls can really shake up a lawmaker. So we decided to, and we had made so many calls for Hillary that were like, a couple dozen calls is nothing. So what we did is we organized tons of phone banks, where everyone gets together and makes calls. And we were calling about 6 bills at the end of 2016 that they were trying to pass at the last minute during the holiday season when they thought nobody was paying any attention. We made well over 1,000 calls and stopped all 6 bills that we were calling about, which was really exciting. And then we're like, hey, this is awesome. We clearly did something. And
that was right before, but when the Republicans were doing all that, right?
Yeah, it was during the lame duck session. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, man.
Hey, yeah. It was like it was about all kinds of crazy stuff. They were trying to pass a bill that would, make it easier for dark money to get in politics. Cut the pensions of teachers, cut the healthcare for firefighters, just crazy stuff. So we made a lot of calls, helped stop a lot of bills, and then we're like, wow, this is pretty cool. Why don't we keep doing this kind of thing? So we were like, all right. And so essentially every week we've had phone banks in different parts of the state, Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, Flint, Northville, Milford, just all kinds of places. And we have made tens of thousands of calls and have stopped a lot of pieces of legislation through our activism.
And you founded that group, right?
And I founded that group. Yeah.
On your own or some others? Well, obviously,
yeah,
too. But I mean,
well, it's all about the team. But I kind of had the idea in the beginning, and then we got people together, and I figured out how to set it up, and it's going on right now. You can go to MichiganResistance.org and come out to one of our phone banks that we have every week. Or you can follow us on Twitter. So Facebook.
Great work.
Yeah, so that's been really great. And so I know how to organize. And so being organizers on Hillary's campaign, founding the Michigan Resistance. I'm a grassroots organizer, I'm a grassroots activist, and and I know how to make sure that we get stuff done, and do it in a very lean way. Michigan Resistance isn't a registered nonprofit or anything. We don't take donations or anything like that. We just pay for an email list and a website. And everyone kind of chips in some money to pay for snacks, and it's just as grassroots as it possibly can get, So that's why I feel like we have an advantage, a huge advantage when it comes to organizing. And the great thing is too, students believe in progressive values and a progressive vision, and they want to come on our campaign because that's what we're fighting for. It's going to be challenging for Congresswoman Dingell or any centrist to be able to inspire and mobilize many youth, because they're just not going to want to.
Do you see, now that we have open absentee ballot, open absentee voting to everyone, do you see that being a big advantage for you in getting the youth? Or?
Yeah, for sure. I think that some people leave for different summer responsibilities, summer jobs and stuff. So being able to vote absentee and not having to give a reason and making it as hassle-free as possible, we'll still be able to get some of those voters, which will be awesome.
So, growing up around here, like, did you make it out to Ipsy much, or what are you?
Yeah, for sure. I we made it out to Ipsy a little bit. I've definitely been getting to explore a lot more now, of course, that I'm running. It's been a lot of fun to get to know more about Ipsy and everything. Food's amazing. But yeah, there are definitely some issues in Ypsilanti that people in Ann Arbor don't really think about, that don't affect them for sure. There's like a huge disparity, 1,000%, when it comes to affordable housing, when it comes to like issues around racial justice, when it comes to like issues around criminal justice reform with like marijuana expungement that needs to happen, like all these kinds of things.
Yeah, that housing is, I think, really, housing and health are so essential, and I think some of the pressure comes out of Ann Arbor with that. I think the average home price is somewhere around 400,000, and that's just driving up prices area
Absolutely.
Countywide, and making housing less affordable out here in the eastern part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know. I read this great article that was talking about how Ann Arbor's affordable housing policy is Ypsilanti.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like it's totally true. I know a lot of young people who are like have moved out to Ipsy because Ann Arbor is too expensive for them to live in.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, when you get elected,
We'll definitely be advocating for that because there's a couple things that we'll be thinking about when it comes to housing. So we definitely want to say that there needs to be rent control. And like Bernie Sanders has created a really awesome housing plan that was what we're have based a lot of our plan on as well. So maximum 3% increase. You can't just jack up the prices like crazy every year. We need to build more affordable housing units. We need to renovate our affordable housing units as well because they're falling into disrepair because we haven't allocated the proper funds to keep them up to date.
And Solomon, I know you said you had 4 issues.
Yeah.
And I think free college tuition, I believe, was the 4th one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
When did you? I'm a med student.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if
So
you're a med
you get
student,
really-
you're going to be really excited about eliminating student debt. Let me tell you, I've got a personal stake in this for sure. So we, I've been in med school for 2 years before I took my leave of absence, and unfortunately, I'm in over 6 figures of debt already from like those 2 years, and that's really, really common. And here's the thing. Well, with medical school, at least at the end of medical school, you know that you've got a good paying, stable job that you can look forward to as a doctor. But that's the exception to the rule when it comes to the debt that we ask our students to take out when it comes to undergrad or so many graduate programs as well. There's no guarantee. There's no stability in terms of any kind of financial security, right? You don't know if you're going to be able to get a job. And I know so many people who went to U of M, graduated, our best public school. My friend went to U of M, graduated with a degree in biology, a STEM major. And he ended up not being able to find a job for 2 years, worked at Dick's Sporting Goods, working at minimum wage, a job he could have gotten right out of high school. We hear those stories happening over and over again. So at the very least, you shouldn't have to be worried about if there's no financial security. If you're not even sure if this is going to make a return on your investment, you shouldn't have to take out debt to begin with. Number one. Number two is that for all the college kids for all the kids in this country, most of them have heard that if you want to be successful, you need to go to school, right? That's kind of what we tell the kids of America. And so people are listening to us, and they're like, all right, I'll go get my degree, I'll go become college educated. And if most of the jobs, if many of the decent paying jobs in this country require a college degree, like how optional even is this, right?
Yes.
How optional is this? So when we created our public education system, our K through 12 system, we said that everyone would deserve a K through 12 education because at the time, high school was what you needed and be able to get most of the jobs in American society. But times have changed now. Now you need a college degree for a lot of stuff. So why is it that we think that this is some expensive extra luxury when it's like so necessary to just pursue an opportunity for Americans.
In terms of funding something like it, have you seen some a favorite way or a preferred option?
Absolutely. Because people are always asking like, oh yeah, like how are you gonna pay for that? You know, the people like love to say how are we gonna pay for it as a way to dismiss any kind of progressive suggestion. It's just like the centrist way. And here's the answer. The answer is we're going to pay for it using the vast wealth and resources of the richest country in the world, which is the United States of America. And here's the thing. We are the richest country, and we need to start acting like it. We're not like a country that's barely getting by. We're not a developing country. We have all of this money. We just spend it on this useless stuff, right? Like our crazy military budget, these insane long wars, corporate tax breaks. I mean, the amount of money we gave to corporations in tax breaks is literally more money than we necessarily eliminate all student debt in this country.
I can't believe we have a plane that's $750 million.
Some crazy nonsense, you know, like every day you hear about some ridiculous military expenditure and you're like, why? But we need to be having everyone pay their fair share. So corporations need to pay their fair share, because why is it that Amazon pays less taxes than any person who pays any taxes, right? Like they pay $0 in taxes. Why is it that right now people who are insanely wealthy have more wealth than we could possibly ever wrap our minds around? That will take them like 1,000 lifetimes to spend. They're just sitting on their wealth. They're not having to pay any taxes on their net worth. Why not? You know, like they're hoarding that wealth. We should be able to tax it so that we can reinvest some of that in order to improve the lives of the American public.
Absolutely. It's been such a pleasure. Are there some other topics or anything else you want to let the public know about you before we go?
Yeah, well, there's one last thing. So, you know, those are the big issues I care about, and thinking about how we need someone to advocate for those issues in a progressive district is what got me to run. But it's something even bigger than that, you know? The reason why I'm running is because the political establishment in this country has absolutely failed us. All they know how to do is to think small. We've asked them time and time again to advocate for the bold solutions we need in order to fully handle the huge problems that we're facing as Americans, right? But they refuse to do it. And we begged and we've pleaded with them for a long time. And after a while, we have to realize we can only beg for so long. If they're not going to do it now, they're never going to do it. And we have to realize if we want to do it, we're going to have to do it ourselves. And at this point, I'm done waiting. We're done waiting. And that's the reason that I got in this race.
I'm tired of waiting too, Solomon. I'm glad you're in it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
By.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really great being on.
August 4th. Get out.
August 4th, SolomonRajput.com.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much.
See you next time.